Are you getting ready to go on our adventure?
1970.
Okay, so somebody was asking me, I said,
August 22nd.
1970. I got married in 72.
Well, I graduated from nursing school and got married the next day.
I turned 21 and got married the next day. I thought that was done.
I wasn't even 21. I sure wasn't. But anyway,
It looks like it's hard.
it looks like. I know he told me right off the bat there wasn't any other man on earth to put up with me. So I knew you well. I might as well just be happy.
I'm happy, and y'all have a fantastic day. I love you.
Sorry, little boo. Embarrassed to be there. Okay, here we go.
We're following Randy. We have no idea where we're going. We hope we know when we get there.
Have you held her and nursed her and all of that stuff? There, look at all those tents. People camp here.
I guess so.
That's Boy Scouts, I think, or something like
That way.
that. Didn't it? Yes, forever. I said, I hope we can find our way back.
Just keep making rights, and I think we'll get there.
Just always turn right. Just.
Very much And when Javier finishes with you guys, you'll come back here. We have a dinner down, and we've got 4 more rooms here. And when you're out on the fort, you may find that we don't spend enough time in the building, so you're welcome to go back. Now, thank you.
One of my close friends here, Captain, he's grown up here. He knows the whole universe. He's going to give us a little tour. You know, if you get tired, he told me you can sit down, but you had to have permission. All right, I'll be here. It's your baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you kindly follow me, we start the tour right here on the back.
Oh, very good. And if you want, you can leave your walker here. Not at all, ma'am. You'll be coming back here, so. We should take you on.
Aren't you here for Civil War?
It'll be fun. Thank you.
There's your whistle.
That's not good.
Randall mentioned my name is Javier, and I'm one of the park rangers here at Fort Stanton and also at Lincoln. We like to start the tour right here on the back of the parade, so you can get a chance to look at all the different buildings that surround our parade ground. For us, what that does represent is the 164-year history of Fort Stanton. While it initially starts as a military fort, it is the first federal TB hospital, ran by the state. Then it is a mental health institution, a training school for developmentally disabled, and in later years it becomes a women's correctional facility, followed by a drug rehab center. As you'll notice, none of the buildings are exactly the same. Again, with that representing the 164-year history, they have evolved and changed over time to accommodate what it is that the fort is. If you'll kindly follow me, we're going to go ahead and start in our barracks exhibit. It'll be in this direction over here.
It reminds me too much of boot camp, actually.
Exhibit. We are depicting roughly 1858. This is about 3 years after the fort has been established. Now everything in this exhibit is an authentic reproduction. By that what I mean, of course it's a newer material, but built by the specifications of at the time. In practice, this would have been a barracks, the main museum you enter would have been a barracks, and there would have been 2 more barracks buildings in the very back southwest corner. Now more than likely the barracks for this is for the cavalry, with the stables being right across the way. What I do like to do is point out to my visitors the size of the bed. Now while it does appear rather spacious, this is at a time when there are 2 soldiers per bed. They sleep back to back, head to toe, and you are only required to bathe once a month. So thankfully things have changed. Now the average enlisted soldier here is receiving about $11 per month. What we do have in the back is a sergeant's quarters exhibit. That gentleman is receiving $20 per month, as well as additional privacy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is actually a hands-on exhibit. We encourage our visitors to try on the uniforms and take pictures. We're going to spend about 5 minutes in here. When you are ready, please meet me in the very back corner and we will proceed on with the tour.
Quick, put the uniforms on.
He's got to get it. There we go.
No telling how many people have tried on those hats.
Hey, yeah, you got a point.
Hope there's no lights in there.
Look short to me.
Definitely had to do
Head to toe, yeah.
I can sleep here. One night.
It is. Like canvas.
Yeah, well, that's what you said.
So you probably guess you need a blue jean needle to
Probably. Oh, that's right. Sorry. No, I'll take 2 days.
All right.
However, they have since built a new hospital. So this is about as historically accurate as we could place it. When this becomes a federal TB hospital, this served as their dining room. So a future project for restoration is behind those double doors behind you. We have a 1950s industrial kitchen. As you can see, I like to draw my visitors' attention to this back wall. Any building that you see that is made out of stone was here in some part in 1855 when the fort is established. This is original 1855 wall. Now, as you can see over time, they have added and made adaptations. So we have turn of the century additions. And then in this very back corner, you can see a piece of tin. At one point, all of the walls in this building were surrounded by this tin. That's circa 1930s. At this time, I'd like to point out of course, my attire. I'm representing roughly a New Mexico volunteer, so I am early 1860s, but of course the fort is established pre-Civil War. My musket is a replica. It is an 1842 model. They weigh about 11 pounds. Now, one gentleman asked, it's about a 69 caliber, a smooth barrel. Soldiers are required to load it and fire within 20 seconds, so about 3 times a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, it takes me a good 20 minutes. I need to get some practice. If you will kindly proceed back out that way, we will go ahead and move on to the new hospital exhibit. So if you guys go out that door, just walk in front of this other building, I'll meet you there.
Oh, yeah.
There's probably a nosebleed.
We've had flowers. Oh, cool. Just talking about the TV.
You ever see Wayne? You know, I talked to him, well, funny enough, July.
So even though Fort Stanton is relatively obscure with, say, respect to our state capital up in Santa Fe, we're actually home to the first electric elevator in the state of New Mexico. This building is built in 1936. The first TB hospital would have been located in the very back southwest corner in one of the original infantry barracks. They tear that down in 1930, they built this in 1936. At the time, it would have been able to house about 85 TB patients. Now, the majority of our patients come from the back east and the Midwest. They have to pay their own way to get here. However, once they get here, all of their treatment is fully funded. Now, in order to get here, the majority of these patients would actually take the train into Carrizozo. From Carrizozo, it is actually a 2-day trip here, either by wagon or eventually by car. Normally spending the night in Capitan before proceeding here. This is actually a 4-story building. We have the first and second floor, basement, and attic. Now, you will see in these front rooms exhibits depicting things such as a day in the life of Fort Stanton, how the TB patients lived. In actual practice, those rooms would have been for surgery. Things such as collapsing the lung or pulling the lung would have been forms of treatment during the day. Now, of course, it's also known as consumption. The reason being it's eating away at the body. One of the forms of treatment to address this issue is to put the patients on a 4,000 calorie a day diet. Now, in addition to that, they wake up in the morning for very light exercise. They have 2 naps in the morning and 2 naps in the afternoon. Thankfully, we have moved on to now they are bathing at least once a week, so that's a good improvement. In order to obtain that 4,000 calorie a day diet, they actually tried to be self-sufficient. Fort Stanton had its own farm and ranch at a time. One of the rooms will actually depict that as well. I also like to point out to my visitors that we have these paintings along the wall. Those are part of a WPA project under Roosevelt's New Deal. So they are government contracted artists painting these pictures to show to the patients. Now initially the fort had about 80 paintings. We have only been able to relocate about 20. The reason I do like to bring that up to my visitors is, should you know where any of them are, please let me know. I would love to score some points with my boss. Now, similar to the barracks exhibit, we will spend about 10 to 15 minutes in here looking around. And again, when you are ready to proceed with the tour, just meet in this main hallway and we'll proceed that way on the parade grounds.
Well, your family's getting sparking up and moving around, aren't they?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Action! So in 1953, this is turned over to be run by the state as a TB hospital. Sometime between 1953 and 1966, they actually, if I can draw your attention to back there, they enclosed hallways so it was possible for patients to travel from building to building without ever having to be on the parade grounds. I will, of course, also draw your attention to the concrete slabs. And when this is a women's correctional facility, that serves as their dormitory. At one point, this entire building is surrounded by a 15-foot barbed wire fence.
So men hadn't changed since back in the day.
Now, building number 4 originally is one story during the military era. The second floor is added as when it becomes the TB hospital. Of course, I will draw your attention to the doors to nowhere on the second floor. We will brief that subject a little further on the tour. It wasn't just the TB patients or doctors and nurses that came to treat people. This provides a local economy for the area. With that being said, you cannot treat someone with a broken leg or a crying baby in the same hospital. So while TB patients are up there, this smaller infirmary is to treat the locals. In addition, we also have a schoolhouse. Behind that is occupational therapy for the TB patients, and further past that is a power plant. Now, the Catholic Church originally stood in the very back southwest corner attached to the original barracks. When they are torn down, this building is left freestanding. What they decide to do is eventually relocate it here. So while the back of the building is rebuilt in 1940, this outer facade is off of the original 1913 church. They remove it stone by stone and relocate it here. Now, both TB patients and the local population would have had services here. They would have been separate services, and they actually would have fumigated the building between them. This, of course, is one of the buildings you are welcome to go look into, should you desire.
What about the bell?
If I have one brave volunteer among you, I will allow one of you to ring the church bell. But there's 5 of you.
Was it from the original, or is it, when they moved over here, they added the bell?
Well, they had a bell on the old one. This is probably not.
She's gonna do it. Otherwise, I think you deserve a petition for that. No, it's
Play a little chord. Play a little. Renee, Rexanne. Play just a little. Beautiful.
Here comes
What this does is also serve as an officer's quarters for an officer and his family. Then during the TB era, it is for the doctor and his family. Currently, this is the offices of the Bureau of Land Management. They are the ones that oversee the 25,000 acres that surround our historic site. One of the things they do manage is the Fort Stanton cave. Should you want more information on that, we have a main exhibit in our main museum over there. Now, this building right over here is the one that has been the least altered on the parade grounds. What we have here is commanding officers' quarters. Now, the front of the building is built in the 1850s. The addition is added in the 1880s. Prior to that, they would have had a standalone summer kitchen.
Is that the kitchen in the back?
There's a smaller white building, and that would have been the summer kitchen. You'll see it as we walk by. Lincoln and the Lincoln County War. One of the gentlemen in this picture is Lawrence G. Murphy. The way I like to explain to our visitors is if you have Billy the Kid on one side, you have Lawrence G. Murphy on the other side. Or how the movies like to portray it, is the bad guy. However, should you like to be a part of history and stand where Mr. Murphy is in the picture, all you have to do is stand or sit in this inner corner of the bench, get your picture taken, and you are a part of the history. Now, the front of the two rooms of this building are parlors, the back two are bedrooms. One of our volunteers actually has a poster of all the commanding officers that were stationed here at one time. After the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln, there is a trial conducted to see if a conspiracy is involved. Two of the gentlemen that served on that trial were stationed here as commanding officers at one time. When you do go into this building, I will also draw your attention to the high vaulted ceiling, a common architecture theme of Victorian era. Please feel free to walk in. To nowhere. Building number balcony on building 4. It has to be torn down. Now, this is also a single-story building during the military era. The second floor is added when it becomes a TB hospital. As you can see in this column right here, there is an endpoint. That is where the building originally ended. It expands out here to about 1880, and then the last expansion is at the turn of the century. And similar to Building 4, this is also officers' quarters, with the parlor in the front, the bedrooms in the back. Unfortunately, also during the drug rehabilitation era, they lose their contract mid-construction. So in this building, all you see is a vent to nowhere, a hole in the wall, and electrical units that have not been completed. However, our most famous person to reside here was General Pershing. He was a lieutenant at the time. He is stationed down here in about 1886. He would have resided in the very far one over there. We refer to that one as Building A1. Now, should you have additional time, I would like to encourage you to go visit this information panel over there. What that information panel acknowledges is the German internment camp, and this was first a CCC camp and turned into a German internment camp. They actually built their own swimming pool while they were here. In celebration of the completion of their swimming pool, they had their own mini Olympic Games. So 4 days of boxing matches, things of that nature. If that is something that does interest you more, on your main map of the museum, there is a building referred to as the Community House. That tells the entire story of the Germans that were here. And a small little tidbit, if you did have a chance to see the painting in the church, that was painted by one of the German attorneys while he was here. And if you'll kindly follow me, we'll go ahead and proceed this way. And then this one right here. Now I am standing roughly where the commissary would have been at one time. It actually would have been attached to Building 13. As you can see in the information panel, this is actually one of my favorite stories. The reason they decided to tear it down is because a chunk of the roof, or a chunk of a tree fell on the roof of a woman's bedroom. So, time to go. What we actually have back here, however, is referred to as the Hidalgo building. When this is a federal TB hospital and then a state TB hospital, Native Americans who had TB would have been treated in back there. Then, very briefly, when this is ran by the state as a mental health hospital, the quote-unquote criminally insane were housed back in that building. Now, we are fortunate enough that we do have some volunteers through AmeriCorps that assist us for about 3 months with some restoration projects. The first building they fixed up was the Hidalgo building, so that serves as their dormitory. So needless to say, we do have somewhat of a sense of humor putting our volunteers in the criminally insane building. And so, ladies and gentlemen, right here at one point would have been the infantry quarters, infantry barracks. Those are torn down in the 1930s. This building is built in 1940. The architecture style we refer to as Pueblo Revival. The majority of this gentleman's work can be seen up in Santa Fe, our state capital. Now, he was not originally stationed here at the fort, but he did come to the state of New Mexico to be treated for tuberculosis. When he does receive treatment and is cured, he does continue to be an architect. What we actually have here is the nurses' quarters. So any nurses that came to the hospital to assist the TB patients and doctors would have resided here. These front 2 rooms are actually social gathering rooms, as you may see in the picture on the information panel. We still have the 1940 decorative vigas and Kiva fireplace. The state of New Mexico is actually working on fixing the flat roof so we can open this back up to the public. Now, there would have been an estimated about 40 nurses at any given time, and they actually would have had their own individual rooms. If I can also draw your attention to the upper and lower terrace in this direction, we have a small example that I refer to as a log cabin building, but not all TB patients would have been treated in the new hospital. Some TB patients would have been in canvas tents or wooden cabin-looking things on these upper and lower terraces. Now, as you can see, that's where those stairways would have gone. It is estimated there would have been anywhere from 70 to 150 people outside at one time.
What kind of buildings you build here where all these little steps are?
That's what those are, sir. Those are the canvas tents, and some were wooden tents. there would have been 2 patients per enclosure.
I have a question about the trees. Are they 100 years old or?
The majority of the trees around the fort are from the 1930s and 1940s. I'm told that some of them are cottonwood and a few are elm. I'm sorry, I don't know the difference between trees. And again, what we have here is originally a single-story building during the military era. What starts out as a guardhouse and administration. This becomes the entertainment center during the TB era when the 2nd floor is added. I will, of course, open a doorway so you can see the stairs. Patients would have walked up the stairs. To the left would have been the barber shop. And to the right, along this way, is a 174-seat movie theater. We actually still have some of the original seats you may have seen in our hospital exhibit. You may have also seen the original projector. That is one of the original projectors. It actually would have sat on its own platform, and where you see this white cutout, it would have projected in that way. Currently, this is where all state employees have our offices.
You got off from nursing.
Oh, I got you. You have to do your job first.
Yeah. Pool table. Wow. 68.
That don't look bad.
Yeah.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this would have been the stairway the patients would have walked up. To the left, again, is the barber shop. To the right is the entryway we have closed off. That would have been to the movie theater.
Want to get a haircut?
Wow.
I think they're close to me.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Ambulatory, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. They keep that food. You're doing the excellent job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
When you say 5,
And ladies and gentlemen, last but certainly not least, what we have here is a guardhouse. The front of the building is built in 1879 out of adobe. This back here is wood frame added circa turn of the century. Legend has it that Billy the Kid resided here for a night. If that is the case, more than likely he is a witness in a trial. He spends the night here and the next day he's taken to court. One thing I forgot to mention, and we've already passed, is we're actually working on our firehouse. So we have an old school fire trucks. Thank you, Kenny. Should you have time to drive around the premises, the bay doors are open so that you can look at our fire trucks. When this is a TB hospital, the front of the building is the dentist's office and x-ray room, and in the back is the library. Currently, this is where we have our artifacts and collections, hopefully to get more artifacts out to the public. Ladies and gentlemen, that is officially the end of the walking tour. Should you have any more additional questions, I'll be happy to assist you. Feel free to walk around the remainder grounds and spend more time. There is also a 9-minute video that kind of encompasses everything we talked about in our main museum. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We sure do appreciate it.
What is that tree doing in the middle of the parade day?
Right. Yeah, that is definitely added in the TB era. The parade ground is actually a foot lower than the military era.
Oh, okay.
And then they add that. The flag post stood by the tree, stood in front of administration, and then they eventually moved the flagpole where it is now. In fact, where the flagpole is now, they put in tennis courts for the TB patients and the doctors at one point. There's pictures of that, I believe, in the main museum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the idea of, different squads.
Yes, sir.
Whoever was here, having marching practice or whatever.
Yes,
on
sir.
parade day or formal events. The tree obviously came later.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely.
I was right.
You know, I'm recording this, don't you? This is the
He knew exactly who it was.
And so the next week, the next week, I started getting phone calls. He had put an ad at San Antonio Express 4x4 Toyota pickup decked out. I'm headed overseas, must sell for $1,000. First $1,000 gets into my phone. Hell no, I didn't have any. Oh, God. So he got me.
Yeah, you had your phone ringing off the hook.
Ride out here, your bike ride. How far?
It was awesome. I mean, we parked about a mile down the road, and it was about 7:30, gorgeous morning, about 55 degrees. And we took off. We went back to where the 220 highway starts. Right?
Yeah, that's where we saw y'all kick together.
I don't think you saw us.
Were you on a pickup?
Oh, you may have.
Yeah, I think you got into the caravan when we was coming.
Oh, yeah, we were already.
When you finished the ride, yeah.
And then we went down, rode our bikes down to there, and then we rode them back, and we didn't turn in. We went on down to the end of the road, another mile down, and we're keys into 380, and then we came back, and I thought we was going to turn into to where our truck was parked. Dexter just keeps going, you know. And I said, well, he just wants a little more. I said, okay. So we go on, and it's about a mile and a half, just 2 miles down there, and finally here we get here to Fort Stanton, you know, on our bikes, and he says, do we go straight here? I said, what do you mean? So I said, we've already passed the truck, Dex. Yeah, I said, it's a mile back down the road. And he said, oh, I missed it. And I said, well, I thought you were just wanting some more. I said, so we turned around and went back. We found it the second time.
How far out here was it from? Did you leave from Rio Dosa and come out?
We drove out here.
Oh, okay.
And parked, and then we rode back,
around.
And then back.
We got a good,
it's 35 miles.
Yeah, 35 like that.
How long does it take you to ride
All
up
I
here?
can say is, Gurney pulled me the whole way. I couldn't keep up with him. I sucked his wheel the whole way.
But right there at the end, he was just going up them. He's standing up, going up those hills like a billy goat. You know, and I was huffing and puffing. You know, like this 7,000 feet affects me. It don't affect him. His lungs are great. Yeah. No, we had a blast. It was awesome. It was awesome ride. I mean, we're just blessed to be almost 70-year-old and still out here riding a bike.
That's amazing.
I know.
That's amazing.
And we both said it's just because of the man.
Good Lord take care of you.
We're just blessed. That's just all.
Well, now, Dexter, you're going to try to do the right after you turn 70, according to RAM regulation. If you're 70 by the 31st of the year, then whatever age you, and then you're going to try the next.
Age is your age. From December 31st to
that becomes your.
So my racing age will be 70 in June.
And so now, are you going to try it the next year?
Oh, no.
See, I'm going to set the record, and Ronnie's going to come.
He's going to follow it up
next year.
No, I can't afford to do it. That's an expensive race, but no, it's
that's quite a deal.
You got to really want to do that. You got to want it. Dude, that's the hardest race in the world. Bicycle is the hardest race. It is. Physical.
Yeah, I bet. How many miles? 3,500 or something?
It's 3,000 miles. They got a 12-day time limit. So if you divide, once the clock starts in Oceanside, it doesn't stop for anything. Weather's a huge factor.
Yeah.
You start in California. You Oceanside. You go beach to beach. And so
you're still to Annapolis.
Annapolis, yeah. And so you have 12 days to complete it in 12 days. If you do the math, if you divide 12 into 3,000, that's 250 miles a day. You average every day for 12 days. And if you say only get 200 miles in one day, guess what you got to do the next?
Make it up. Does that happen when you're going over the hills and stuff?
Yeah. The horse takes you through the desert. It's 115 degrees out there. There's all your stuff on your own. That gives you snacks, everybody. And then you got to go through Monument Valley, and you go through the Rockies, Wolf Creek Pass, Charles Pass, and then you go through the Ozarks in Missouri, and the toughest climbing, the toughest part of RAM is the Appalachians. Going through Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. You've already ridden 2,500 miles, and those climbing is tough tougher in the Appalachians than it is the Rockies because there's steeper cliffs.
They already wore out.
What do you average, about 2 hours a day sleeping?
At 11, when I commuted Ram, I averaged less than 2 hours.
2 hours a day. Some of those guys that
We
win
gotta keep in mind also that days and I slept 3 hours, and that meant the days I didn't get
it just depends on.
I don't see how you do that.
Win or not, make some time. But the winners, those guys, sometimes they'll go almost 3 days without sleeping sometimes. Yuri Robic did.
Yeah.
He went almost 3 days without sleeping, but then he started going nuts. I saw a video. He hallucinated. This is a guy that wins it. Even the winners suffer. They suffer too.
Well, we wish you the best. Keep us posted, Joni, whoever's going to.